The security cameras were still mounted on the walls. 4 of them pointed at every approach to the house. But when detectives arrived at the Simonelli home in Woodland Hills on the night of January 23, 2017, the hard drive that stored every frame of footage was gone, ripped from the garage wall. Fabio Simonelli lay dead by the pool, a Rolex worth $88,000 still on his wrist. The killers left the safe untouched, left the jewelry, took one thing, the evidence of who was watching. That detail will matter, because in this case, the most dangerous person wasn't the one inside the house. It was the one who knew exactly when to leave. Fabio Simonelli was the kind of man people described by what he did to a room when he walked into it. Luigi Simonelli, his son from an earlier marriage, told 48 Hours that his father was like a cup of coffee in the morning. He got you going, lifted your spirits, made you want to charge at whatever the day was asking of you. That's not grief talking. Watch any archival footage of Fabio at work and you understand immediately why Weller, one of the largest beauty companies in the world, promoted him to a senior executive role in 2008 and moved him and his family to Los Angeles. He had started cutting hair in Toronto with his sister Mirella. No corporate polish, no calculated climb. Just talent and warmth and the kind of charisma that makes clients feel seen. By the time he landed in LA, he was driving a Porsche, raising 2 daughters, Jessica and Isabella, in a Woodland Hills home with a pool, and still, by every account, coming home at the end of a long day and sweeping Monica off her feet to dance in the kitchen. His queen, he called her. His queen. Restaurant owner Joe Mercurio, who grew up with Fabio and stood beside him as best man at his 1997 wedding to Monica, described their relationship to 48 Hours as a love story. "We were dancing right to the very end," he said. "That phrase will land differently by the time this is over." Monica had been Fabio's customer first, then his wife, a makeup artist who became the center of the life he built. What Fabio's family saw, what his friends saw, was a woman who had everything. A luxury home, cleaning services, pool service, a Porsche in the driveway, 2 healthy daughters, a husband who adored her. But there is a flaw in every picture that appears too complete, and the flaw here is simple. No one outside this marriage actually knew what was happening inside it. That gap, between the life Monica was seen to have and the life she apparently wanted, is where this case was born. Call it the architecture of absence. The invisible blueprint drawn in secret, piece by piece, months before the night those cameras went dark. 6 months before Fabio died, Monica forwarded an email to someone outside her household. It contained the username, password, and full user manual for her home security system. The same day she received it from the surveillance company. The recipient was not a family member. January 23, 2017 was a Tuesday. At 3:26 in the afternoon, surveillance cameras captured Monica leaving the house in the family's black Ford F-150. Fabio was alive. Their daughter Isabella was not yet home. The pool sat still and quiet in the January light. What happened in the 90 minutes that followed became the center of one of the most methodically constructed murder investigations in recent Los Angeles County history. At the time, Lap Detective William Dunn and his team were already tracking a prolific and violent crew known informally as the Knock Knock Burglars, organized theft teams that had been striking celebrity homes across Los Angeles with military precision, clearing bedrooms in under 3 minutes, targeting jewelry and cash, vanishing before anyone understood what had happened. Their victims included former Lakers star Derek Fisher, Nicki Minaj, and Alanis Morissette, whose Brentwood home was hit for $2 million. Their method: surveillance, entry, extraction, exit. No confrontation unless forced. So when Fabio Simonelli was found dead by his pool, stabbed, his Porsche taken, the security DVR ripped from the wall, investigators initially read the scene as a knock-knock job turned lethal. A robbery gone wrong. A man in the wrong place at the wrong time. But Detective Dunn told 48 Hours something bothered him from the start. Why didn't they take more? Why leave an $88,000 Rolex on a dead man's wrist? Why leave the safe untouched? The Knock Knock Burglars knew what pay dirt looked like. They had demonstrated that on tape, in home after home, across the wealthiest zip codes in Los Angeles. They did not leave Rolexes. Something about this particular robbery was architected differently. And architecture, as investigators were about to discover, was exactly the right word. Within weeks, a forensic team found blood at the crime scene that did not belong to Fabio Simonelli. One contributor, unknown. And investigators quietly stopped looking at the Knock Knock Burglars entirely. They already had a DNA profile. They just needed a name to match it to. The name came from an unexpected direction. Robert Baker, 55, was the director of a racquetball league at a gym in Canoga Park, less than 10 miles from the Simonelli home in Woodland Hills. He had a history that most people in his orbit did not know about, a 1993 conviction out of Long Beach for lewd and lascivious acts with a minor, for which he served time. He was a registered sex offender. He had also done work in the adult film industry. Elise Blumel, a friend of Monica's who played in Baker's racquetball league, described him to 48 Hours in 2018 as the kind of man who commanded a room without seeming to try, physically imposing, highly organized, sexually confident in a way people noticed. Very alpha, she said. He was in charge. She didn't know his background. Monica was also a member of that league. When Elise told Monica she had spotted Baker in an adult film, Monica's reaction, according to Elise, was almost flat. No real surprise. That detail sat quietly for months before it became something investigators understood. Because what police discovered, through months of phone record analysis covering the 5 months following the murder, was that Baker and Monica had exchanged thousands of calls and texts. Not hundreds. Thousands. And 2 months before Fabio died, Baker told a friend he had been dating a woman for about a year, sending along a photograph. That woman was Monica Simonelli. Here is what that timeline translates into. Baker and Monica were together, by the prosecution's account, conducting a secret affair, while Fabio was alive, while Fabio was dancing with her in the kitchen, while Fabio called her his queen. The architecture of absence was not empty. It was fully occupied. Police adopted a deliberate misdirection strategy with Monica. Detectives visited her at home claiming they were investigating the knock-knock burglars. She didn't know she was the investigation. They surveilled Baker simultaneously. And at Fabio's backyard wake, days after his murder, Robert Baker showed up. Mirella, Fabio's sister, saw Monica standing outside with him, drinking, talking, away from the grieving guests. Luigi noticed Baker too. He also noticed something else. Baker had bandages on his hands. Prosecutors would later argue that Baker cut his finger killing Fabio, which is how his DNA ended up at the scene. Police pulled Monica and Baker over under staged pretext, claiming the car might be stolen, separated them, and placed them in a wired police vehicle. Before Monica knew she was being recorded, she said, "Somebody must have talked. They must have something on us." That recorded statement became, in former federal prosecutor Mary Fulgenite's assessment for 48 Hours, close to an admission of conspiracy. Not an ironclad confession, but in the context of everything else, it was the sound of a structure collapsing under its own weight. And there was more. The parking lot surveillance from a Target store near the Simonelli home showed Monica arriving in the black F-150 on the afternoon of January 23rd. Prosecutors told a grand jury that video appeared to show an individual getting into Monica's truck before she went inside the store alone. That individual, they argued, was Robert Baker. Monica then entered Target and began shopping while, according to the prosecution, Baker and an unknown accomplice moved on foot toward the Simonelli home. Her phone, prosecutors argued, was doing something specific during this time. Cell records and data analysis showed her device connecting to the IP address of the Simonelli home, generating data volume consistent with streaming video from the home surveillance cameras. The cameras faced the exterior, the driveway, the gate, the approach to the pool area. They did not capture the pool itself, but they captured everything surrounding it. When Baker and his accomplice arrived, when they moved, when they left. Prosecutors argued Monica was watching the operational feed of her husband's murder from a parking lot half a mile away. Defense attorney Julie Rendelman, reviewing the case for 48 Hours, pushed back. The prosecution cannot prove what was on Monica's screen. She could have been watching anything streamed from the home, or watching nothing related at all. The video footage of the truck encounter was, in Rendelman's assessment, too grainy to confirm identity. But the prosecution also pointed to what Monica did not do after Fabio died.
They really described it.
She did not move her daughters out of the house where their father was killed. She did not have the security system repaired or upgraded. Their argument, a woman who genuinely feared an unknown intruder would have done both immediately. A woman who knew exactly who the killer was, and that he posed no threat to her, would not. Silence as evidence. Investigators noted that Baker, even after his arrest, did not reach out to an attorney in the conventional sense. He did not talk to the police. He communicated through Monica. Letters intercepted from behind bars showed Monica writing to him. "I'm always amazed how we both know what the other is thinking. Destined. I miss you so much, my love." prosecution also produced a photograph taken in Las Vegas. Monica grabbing Baker in a manner the district attorney described to the grand jury as explicit. Another image, a mirror, the back of Monica's body reflected in it, the words Mrs. Baker written in lipstick. Mrs. Baker. That was the destination. That was the architecture's final room. And then there was the insurance. On the night Fabio died, before his body had been fully processed, Monica was already asking about his life insurance policy. A payout prosecutors valued at approximately $750,000, plus the house, plus retirement accounts. Rendleman argued this was a frightened woman with 2 daughters and no income trying to understand her financial position. Prosecutors argued it was something else, the behavior of someone who already knew what came next and was moving efficiently into the life she had planned. In 2023, Robert Baker walked into court and pleaded no contest to the murder of Fabio Simonelli. He accepted life in prison without the possibility of parole. He received nothing in return. No deal. No reduction. He simply pleaded. Life without parole. No negotiated terms. Prosecutors and defense attorneys who reviewed the plea for 48 hours agreed. There was no rational legal incentive for Baker to do what he did. It cost him everything. It closed his case entirely. And it removed him from Monica's trial, where his presence at the defense table beside her, the admitted killer sitting next to the alleged architect, could have devastated her in front of a jury before a single witness was called. Former prosecutor Mary Fulgenitai told 48 Hours she would call it his last gift to Monica. What Baker did tells investigators something precise about his psychology. He is a man who operates inside a loyalty structure that supersedes self-interest. That capability, the willingness to absorb permanent consequences to protect someone else, is not incidental. It is the same psychological infrastructure that made him, in the prosecution's framing, the ideal instrument of the architecture of absence. He was loyal. He was operational. He was organized. And he was, by every forensic account, capable of extreme violence while maintaining the social presentation of a community gym director who organized recreational sports leagues and chatted with neighbors at wakes. When detectives confronted Monica about why Baker's blood was found in her home, she told them she had accidentally struck his finger during a racquetball game and driven him home with a bloody towel. Then she told investigators she was not even sure of his last name. The man whose blood was in her house, with whom she had exchanged thousands of calls and texts, whose photograph she had taken in Las Vegas, whose name she had written on a mirror. She couldn't place his last name. She's a liar, she's a manipulator, she's a cheater, prosecutors told the grand jury. And everything that comes out of her mouth has to be taken with a large grain of salt. That's rhetoric. But the underlying data point, that Monica lied to investigators repeatedly and specifically, not generally, is what the prosecution built its conspiracy case upon. Lying about the affair is explainable. Lying about a man's name whose blood is in your kitchen is different. The system failure passage. Here is what this case actually exposed, and what no institution has publicly answered for. Robert Baker was a registered sex offender with a felony conviction for crimes against a minor. That record was accessible. Baker ran a recreational sports league that drew in adults, operated under public-facing identity as a community organizer, and was embedded in a social network that included the spouse of a man he would later be convicted of killing. No system flagged that proximity. No law required his employer, his league affiliates, or his social contacts to be informed of his status. The existing sex offender registry is a public database, but passive. It notifies no one of new social connections. It monitors no professional affiliations. The question this case poses is structural, not emotional. Should registered violent offenders face any active disclosure requirement when entering positions of community-facing authority? That question has not been raised by the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office, by LAPT, or by any legislative body in the years since Baker's arrest. The registry existed. It simply wasn't part of the architecture anyone was reading. Monica Simonelli went to trial, alone, without Baker beside her, supported by the 2 daughters she shared with the man prosecutors say she had murdered. Isabella and Jessica Simonelli sat behind their mother throughout. They released a statement affirming they would stand by her through the verdict. Fabio's family, his sister Mirella, his son Luigi, sat on the other side of the same courtroom. 20 years of shared history compressed into the space between 2 gallery rows. Baker, held at a California state facility, agreed to speak for 48 hours. He told producers that Monica had nothing to do with the murder of Fabio Simonelli, that she never knew he was the killer. He said he had no current contact with her and had not decided whether he would testify. His defense attorney, Leonard Levine, told the media before trial that Baker's testimony, if given, would establish Monica's innocence definitively. That created a paradox. The only person whose testimony could fully exonerate Monica was the man convicted of killing Fabio. And his credibility as a witness, as a no-contest murderer, as a man whose stated motive for his plea was, by implication, to help the woman he loved, was going to be measured against years of intercepted letters, explicit photographs, and a lipstick inscription on a Las Vegas mirror. Defense attorney Rendleman's clearest point remained standing. The prosecution's entire conspiracy case was circumstantial. No witness heard Monica order the murder. No text said it explicitly. No co-conspirator came forward with direct testimony. What existed was a lattice of behavior, passwords forwarded, parking lot meetings, streaming data, lies to investigators, that the prosecution asked a jury to accept as the only reasonable explanation. Juries have acquitted in stronger circumstantial cases. They have convicted the weaker ones. Fabio Simonelli loved his work, loved his daughters.
We further find the allegation that the murder of Fabio Simonelli was
called him the greatest love story
and carried out by the defendant,
How
Monica
lucky am I,
Sementilli,
Monica
for
said at the
financial gain,
microphone,
within
to have
the
lived
meaning
the
of
greatest
Penal
love
Code
story of all
190.
time. The crowd applauded. The daughters were there. The friends were there. What justice looks like in this case depends entirely on which story you believe is the true one, the love story, or the architecture built beneath it. The architecture of absence doesn't collapse on its own. It holds until something inside it testifies, or doesn't. Robert Baker is serving life without parole. He told 48 Hours that Monica is innocent. Whether he takes that statement into a courtroom, under oath, facing cross-examination, is the only development that moves this case forward in any meaningful direction. Watch the Santa Clara Superior Court docket. Watch whether Baker's attorneys file any motion to formalize his cooperation. That is the specific thing that changes what we know. What you can do right now: subscribe. When Baker's testimony status is resolved, and it will be, this channel will cover it in full, including the trial record, not just the press conference. Before you go, the prosecution's conspiracy case rested entirely on circumstantial evidence assembled over 5 months of covert surveillance. No direct witness. No explicit communication ordering a murder. Given that, should the jury have been asked to convict? Or should the standard for conspiracy require something more direct? Yes or no, and why? Leave it below.